Look at this.
The only sweetness is from the chocolate.
There's nothing that really. I don't know if it's supposed to like. Yeah, there's no binding issue. It's just
salt.
I'm like, what is this thing?
Or something.
I think there's no sugar.
There's a bitter taste to that one.
Oh, there is
Well,
no
it's
sugar.
probably because of the sugar, because if there isn't it, like look at
That's
Yeah.
sugar. There's no sugar.
I don't think there's no sugar. That's why
But you're right.
it's
There's like, there's no really good taste to it either.
It's a diabetic cookie. No, seriously, when we get public desserts, like all the cookies tasted like this.
Nick's gonna put it on his menu.
This is what? No.
He uses Splenda.
They have a fruit cup. Splenda has the worst aftertaste ever. Really? Yeah.
I'm just gonna write not good when it comes to taste.
Kyle.
Not good.
Go ahead, get me.
Oh wait, I like this one.
So now, I'll send him my new Facebooker.
Does it taste to be like the butter strains?
Are you on Instagram?
No, I'm going to Instagram. Just Facebook me. I know you got
You
one.
buy fresh.
That's why I follow Annie. Who's Annie? Yeah, this is number 5 one.
Well, that's what makes
Now
it
it
like,
takes all the
almost
other
like
ones.
a.
It's kind of, it's like
Yeah,
hard to
shortbread.
chew. It's not a soft.
Gross.
This is the one you didn't like?
I would never guess that.
I remember
I
it.
liked it at first, and now I've had all the other ones, and I'm like,
We got one.
maybe I gotta go back to that control.
I like number 3.
Let me go back to this.
How's everyone?
We're done.
We're done.
All done?
We're done.
This one.
We're gonna throw up.
I usually normally like cookies, but
Taste that one.
That was a cookie overload.
I didn't realize how much science goes into this.
So, let's have a class discussion.
All right.
What do you want to know?
Who wants to describe the control cookie?
The controlled cookie, I feel, it was golden. It had a good caramelized body to it. It wasn't like complete dome, like some of the other ones, like 4 and 6. So it was kind of like flat, but it wasn't like pancake flat. It was like that perfect
Had an
in
even
between.
spread.
Yeah. Golden edges on it. It was kind of like firm to touch, but once you put it in your mouth, it was really like flaky and edible. And yeah. It's like
Chocolate chip cookies are really depends on the baker's preference. So it could be chewy, soft, or crisp. So, but that was my control cookie. Mariah, why did you come with the cookie number 1?
Well, it had no browning and it had more spread. And the texture was a little cakey, but its taste was very bitter. So my guess was the factor that it has too much baking soda because it was just so in your mouth. Am I right or am I wrong?
Anyone have different answers? Mary?
We thought it was cooked at too low a temperature.
Yeah, that was right. It's a control recipe, but I cooked it at 300 degrees,
cheated.
not 350. When baked at lower temperature, the dough has more chance of spread out, leading to flatter, wider cookies. It evenly bakes the cookies with the less contrast between the edges and the center. So the color, that's why the color was not like golden brown.
How come it seems bitter though?
That's my question. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I used the controlled
Maybe because it
same
wasn't
ingredients,
long
but
enough,
it's
the
just
baking taste you get from
The
baking soda wasn't
aftertaste,
cooked
like,
off
cook out.
enough. So that's why it was a little more bitter.
so conversely,
Just give me that couple.
if I bake the cookies in a higher temperature, it will have a less spread.
Thank you, my good man.
Nick, do you wanna do?
We said that
Number 2?
number 2 that it was more grayish in color than the control cookie. It had like a really weird to it. The texture was like very, I said it was very crumbly, like,
It is crumbly, yes.
and taste, I don't remember what this one tastes
It's very dry.
like. It's crumbly, but I think it's actually chewy. Like in
Chewy.
the middle, which the outside's very hard, but the inside's chewy. We said that it was, that instead of using like granulated sugar for this, it was like a confectioner sugar or more like a refined sugar, so that's why it didn't spread at all.
Could have been over, the heat was higher, and that's why I didn't like, the center might have been, it might have been like browned on the outside, and then not cooked enough on the inside because of the heat.
Any other answers?
Professional.
Cyril?
Sure. We feel that there's a flour issue there where the hydration of the flour is an exorbitant amount and it throws everything else in proportion. So I think it's too high of flour.
Yes. I add half a cup of more flour to it.
Mary, did you do that?
I did actually. Didn't I?
Mary came out
She's
that
smart.
one.
I did. I
So,
was the inspiration.
More flour, chewier cookies, and doughier cookies. Less flour makes it lacier cookies and flatter. Also with the gluten content, if I use all cake flours, it will be like mushy because there's no gluten content, like less gluten content. But if you add all bread flour, it will be very, very chewy because of the extra gluten. Cookie number 3, Kyle.
Cookie number 3. There wasn't much spread to it. To the touch, it was like soft. It wasn't like it was hard. We felt like it had a waxier taste, like an aftertaste. And I think we went with it. We thought it had too much sugar. Or like shortening. Yeah.
It's almost close, but it was actually melted butter. I use melted butter, so I haven't, since the butter becomes liquid, I couldn't cream the fat and sugar, so it was just a melted butter, like basically blended, so it gives a denser and chewier factor. It's like the edges were crisp. That's about it. Yep. And about number 4.
Number 4, we realized it was more dome-like and light in color. It had some browning on the bottom, and it was very cakey. We were thinking maybe temperature.
It's actually like related to cookie number 3. I used the melted butter for cookie number 3. So what would it be for
Solid butter, so not at room temperature.
not in temperature? It was a cold
So
butter.
we're at the fridge.
Yes. So if I made this with shortening, it will have a like similar outcome, but it will have a like no flavors because butter is the most flavor, like nutty, like no to nut. But if I use the shortening, it won't have any nutty flavor to it. So cookie number 5, cereal.
So it was definitely the crunchiest.
Crunches, yes.
Was sort of brittle. So we thought sugar was the issue, and then by cross elimination we think that the either had more sugar or the sugar has been changed. So we by cross elimination came up with all white sugar, no brown sugar.
That's correct. I took half a cup of brown sugar and used 1 cup of granulated sugar. There's more to sugar than just sweetness. White sugar is crystallized sucrose, a complex carbohydrate consisting of a fructose molecule and a glucose molecule linked together. It is mildly hygroscopic and related to neutral to pH. Because I used baking soda for this, the recipe, since the white sugar has neutral to pH, baking soda couldn't active, so it just became flat and crunchy. Cookie number 6, Mariah.
It was dark brown and it had a good dome to it. It's very tough, so we thought you used all bread flour.
It's really related to the cookie number 5. I used all
brown
granulated sugar for cookie number 5.
All brown sugar.
Yes, it is all brown sugar. Because of the brown sugar, it gave the darker color. It was chewy and little crumbly. Less spread but taller. It is because the brown sugar is mostly crystallized sucrose, but also contains a good amount of glucose and fructose, along with trace minerals that give it its flavor and slightly acidic to pH. Glucose and fructose are far more hygroscopic than sucrose. So you can see definitely like the differences between the all granulated sugar and all brown sugar. It's because the slightly acidic brown sugar causes cookie to rise higher when baking, when it mixed with baking soda. You end up with the cakier end result. So basically, using all granulated sugar will give thin and crisp factor, whereas the brown sugar gives tall and moist factor. Cookie number 7, Mary, what was it?
Well, it's pretty much flat as a pancake, but it had a really eggy taste to it, so we think that it was just, the eggs were increased.
Yes. I increased the egg too. I used 2 eggs. It gave huge excessive spread. It was very thin, chewy, and flexible. It had a very eggy taste to it. Because egg whites provide a good amount of water as well as protein. Other than the small amounts in butter, eggs are the main source of water in the cookie dough, so it gives the excessive spread because of the increasing the liquid to it. Okay. Cookie number 8. Delaney?
We said it was very light in color. I believe it was very light on the bottom as well. It was really, really crumbly, and it was a little bitter. So we were just thinking no eggs, no sugar.
It's
Whichever one's right.
and you
What's the answer?
Mary?
You changed the leavening
Yes.
agent, so it was like baking soda instead of baking powder.
Yes. So I
Changed the
replaced
flavor.
the baking soda to the baking powder. It gave the cakier the factor. It's from the baking powder. It's a double acting baking powder. So once it adds to water and heat, it becomes taller and cakier with less spread. So if you use baking soda, it will be more